ever since OKC decided they wanted to load up on a couple of first-round picks, I mean, trade away Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, and Paul George alongside the likes of Al Horford, amongst others, ever since they decided they wanted every single first-round pick possible in existence, as many as they could get their hands on, they've been an interesting team. They've been a team that's been rebuilding. They've been a team that I've kept an eye on. I know a lot of other people have kept an eye on because who isn't interested in a team that has so many first-round picks? You just don't know what they're going to do with it. You just kind of assume that they're going to make a big move, but you don't know when, you don't know how. There's a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes. So that's what the OKC Thunder are right now. And heading into the draft lottery, I kind of just assumed the Thunder were going to get a top pick. I mean, the last 25 games of the season, they tanked significantly. They were giving people contracts, 10-day contracts off the street. They were like, oh, you've played in the G League before? Play 10 games right now. We need to lose. We need to do anything possible. I'm pretty sure I looked at the stats, but over the last 15 games of the season, I think their net rating was nearly twice as bad as the Philadelphia 76ers team that won 10 games. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how bad OKC were over the last 15 games, where, as I said, they were playing anyone with basketball experience, whether they came from overseas, whether they spoke English, any of those things. It didn't really matter. They got them on the court and they tried to get a top pick, which didn't exactly eventuate because they end up with the 6th pick in a draft where it looks like there's a top 5 and, more importantly, a top 4. Now, before I even talk about any of these things, if you could drop a like on the video, that would be much appreciated. I make content like this every single day, and just liking the video helps out a ton, as well as subscribing if you're new. As I said, I make content like this every single day, so that would be cool. But as I was saying, obviously the 6th pick is still a very good pick. It's still a very good pick to have, but this is a draft, as I said, where you have top 4 end talent. It seems like you have the likes of Green, Cunningham, Mobley, and Suggs, and then Kuminga even to a degree, particularly with the Magic at 5. He seems to be like the guy who would go there. But the top 4 seem like the ones that are going to be up there. And this is where it's interesting because the Thunder are a team where I think they could move up in the draft, but you have to look at where they could move up. Cade Cunningham is going to Detroit, and then Houston are an interesting option. They have Mobley or Green, who seem like the 2 most likely guys to pick, and this is where it's pretty pivotal for the Thunder, because the Cavs are a team where they've drafted 1 through 3 in terms of Garland, Sexton, and now Okoro over the last couple of years, and put a lot of investment into them with high-end picks, and all of those guys have turned out to look pretty good. They look like pieces of the future going forward. The Sexton situation is a little bit strange, so we'll have to wait and see on that, but they look like guys who they will build around, which means that they're looking for a center of the future. They're looking for Evan Mobley. It's been said, we all know they want Evan Mobley, which leaves the Thunder in an interesting situation here, because if the Rockets were to take Mobley with the 2nd pick, would Cleveland want to use the 3rd pick on a Jalen Green, on a guy who might not really fit into what they're trying to build right now? He's obviously got a ton of talent, and maybe they just say, take the talent, trade away Sexton. We have so much faith in Green being that guy that we do it. Obviously, that's a chance, but there's also a chance that OKC come in with their load of picks, and they say, we'll move up from 6 to 3. We'll get a guy who we know is going to be a star. We know Jalen Green alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't need to talk about this fit for too long because it is a hypothetical situation, but we know you add Jalen Green, you add his athleticism, his potential versatility as a defensive guy, an elite scorer alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's proved he can be an off-the-ball scorer, he can be an on-the-ball creator, he can take a big load as an on-the-ball creator, and then can also work off the ball. There's just potential for that backcourt. Do I need to say it? Shai, I mention it every single time I talk about the Thunder because I'm going to keep spreading the Shai propaganda until everyone knows that he is legitimately a star already, and he's going to be a top 10 to 15 player in the league for a long time. And we may as well even talk about this just briefly. Let's just talk about Shai, because I did see a few trade rumors. Was it a trade rumor? Pretty sure like one probably crusty old journalist said, oh, Shai could be on the way out. And then a couple of people ran with it, and then it got a little bit of momentum. Shai is not getting traded. Sam Presti is smart. This is why the Thunder are in this situation, because Sam Presti is a smart general manager. A smart decision would not be to trade, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has improved every single year. He already plays like an all-star in his 3rd year. He's already an elite player damn near in the league in just his 3rd year. Let's trade away someone who's going to be a top 10 to 15 player in the league for a decade. Let's do that, because he doesn't fit our timeline? What timeline are you on if Shea doesn't fit the timeline? He is your timeline. You are building around him. He is the crown jewel. There's likely you're not getting someone in the draft as good as Shea, unless you get someone generational, because Shea is that good. I believe that. So you're keeping him and you're building around him, and Jalen Green could be that guy. Because let's look at the 6th pick. I think we have to talk about this. As I said, the 6th pick is still a good pick, but I just think it's an interesting situation to be in if you're OKC. There's some guys, Scotty Barnes, I guess Franz Wagner, just other guys, Moses Moody. There's some interesting options. Again, I'm not a draft expert, so don't come to me for draft expertise, but there are some guys that could be interesting. But I think all of these guys seem like the role player kind of guys, maybe high-end role players projecting forward. And this is where I think the Thunder need to try and make a move if they can, because getting someone who could project to be a high-end role player as a wing, you've already got Kenrich Williams, you've already got Pokusevski, you've already got Baisley, you've already got guys like that who you're going to give minutes to, who you're going to want to give minutes to because you invested a draft pick, you invested time, you invested effort, you invested all of these things into these guys, and they've delivered. Look at Poku's numbers over the second half of the season. He improved drastically. I mean, it was impossible for him not to improve because he was averaging like 2 points a game on like a true shooting percentage of 15. But over the last couple of months, he showed some real glimpses of being a genuine star in the making. Again, he could be out of the league in a year, or he could be the best player in the world in 5 years. I really don't know, but I think you have to at least try to commit to it, because you drafted Poku knowing full well this guy was a project, this was someone that you needed to put time into, but if you put time into, he could be that guy. He could be a star, and he showed nothing. Absolutely nothing to suggest otherwise, because he showed everything you would have wanted to see, having a couple of games where he looked unbelievable, a couple of games where you would have wanted him 100 meters away from the court, which wasn't the worst thing because you're trying to lose, but there was a big bag of mixed things from Poku, but you saw the upside, which is what you wanted to see. And ultimately what I'm trying to say in a very roundabout way is, you bring in a Scotty Barnes, you bring in a guy like that who you're not sure is going to be a star. If you get a Jalen Green, I mean, you're probably as sure as you can be that a guy would be a star or a really good player alongside Shea. Someone like a Scotty Barnes or a Franz Wagner, you're not exactly sure of that. And that just means you're taking away minutes from Poku, Darius Baisley, who again is a very interesting guy that has improved over the last couple of years, particularly in the second half of the season where he showed some really interesting flashes as someone who can play make, he can score. Obviously his efficiency needs to improve. He's got some defensive potential, some versatility. The Thunder already have talent that is very intriguing, talent that I wouldn't say is that far off the level of Scotty Barnes or anyone in that 6 to 7 range. That's what I think, at least. Again, not a draft expert. You could come at me and say Scotty Barnes is the second coming of Draymond Green, which is what the kind of comparisons I'm hearing about him, and he's a guy that you absolutely need, and it doesn't matter if you have Poku and Baisley, because you could put Barnes in anywhere, and he's going to fill a need, because he's that defensive kind of guy who can guard positions 1 through 5 or 2 through 5, whatever you want to say. That's what he could be. So maybe you're just going to say to me, oh, it doesn't matter, just draft him, he'll fit in, he'll get minutes, they'll work something out. Mark Daigneault plays a pretty positionless kind of defense and situation where he's got guys guarding different positions and whatnot, so Scotty Barnes would fit into that mold. He's also a passer. The Thunder love to move the ball around. They love to get everyone involved. He could run some point forward. He could run some different sets. So Scotty Barnes, by no means is he a bad pick. I just think if you're OKC, you got to be careful here. You've got so many picks. You've got so much potential to bring in young talent that you don't want to fall into the trap of potentially having too much talent or just having too much of a diversity of talent that you don't really know who you want to prioritize. You want to know who you want to prioritize. If you have Jalen Green, that's it. You throw him in there. You know you want him for the rest of the future. You know you want Shea. That's 2 positions knocked down. Obviously, you want Lou Dort, Darius Baisley, Poku to play minutes, but those are 2 guys that you can just guarantee are going to be part of your future. You can't guarantee someone like a Barnes or a Wagner or any of those guys, Kuminga, is going to be guaranteed to be a part of your future. That's just kind of the point I want to make in terms of the draft. I also want to talk about the Kemba Walker situation because that's an interesting situation. Kemba Walker, we've seen what Sam Presti's done. We know he's going to do his little restoration thing. He's going to bring in the damaged goods. Kemba Walker, bad knee. Oh my God, worst contract in the league. They would never be able to get rid of Kemba Walker. Oh, Kemba's averaging 25 points a game, shooting 45 and 40% from 3. Well, now all of a sudden some team wants someone who can create his own shot and create for others, and he now looks younger than he ever has before. oh, now he's going to get a first round pick for him. Yeah, that's the kind of Sam Presti thing that he does. So I expect something like that to happen with Kemba. He's going to come in, he's going to play half the season, he's going to rest when he needs to, he's going to look as good as possible just on display. Or if that doesn't work out well, I haven't really thought about that, but I guess they could package up some picks and try to bring in someone who fits their timeline a little bit better. There are some options with Kemba. There's options with this team all around, which is why I said it's an interesting position they're in. Also, could they have a trick up their sleeve? It's Sam Presti. I mean, he probably has a trick up his sleeve. Does it mean trading up to 3? Does it mean trading up to 1? I hope not, because I'm a Detroit Pistons fan. Don't take Cade Cunningham away from us. Even if it means giving us 17,000 first-round picks, I want Cade Cunningham, so don't do that. But the third pick would be good. Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs. Take one of those guys. Those are talented players. I find myself intrigued, waiting for what Presti is going to do. I just find it hard to believe he just sits back and says, yeah, we'll take the 6th overall pick, we'll take the 16th, we'll just continue to stockpile talent, and then we'll just have a mess of minutes for guys to take. It's an interesting situation. I don't know what they're going to do, but I think there are a few options that they could take, and trading up, particularly if Mobley goes to Houston, could be the one. That's one that I'm looking for. Kemba Walker as well. They're going to restore him. They're going to get a first round pick for him. It's just guaranteed. We know how it's going to work. I'm intrigued to see what OKC do going forward. So that's what I wanted to talk about in this video.